Hello, welcome to this episode of Baking Bakers. You might notice that I am not in my own kitchen. I'm actually up north in Michigan with my daughter and her family, spending a little time, and it's been a real treat. We have lots and lots of snow. I'll try and show that to you right now. I don't know if you can see all the snow out there. We actually got to have a snow day yesterday, and my daughter teaches at the same school her kids go to, so we got to spend the day doing fun things, sledding and baking and sewing. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to make a recipe that I have never made before, and I'm going to test it out. And this recipe is called Lebkuchen, which is a traditional German treat, usually made around Christmas time. And when in researching it, I found huge discrepancies or differences in recipes, and it seems to be regional. It comes from, they think, originally from Nuremberg, Michigan, Nuremberg, Germany, in about the 14th century. There was a spice trade route that went through there, so they were able to get the spices that are needed for this. I also researched some of the old recipes say that you should ferment it or leave it sit in your the dough in your cellar for 3 months before baking it. That doesn't seem to be a common practice anymore, and I'm not sure what the purpose is, but a lot of the recipes do say to leave it overnight. So we are going to do that. We're going to start it today, and we're going to leave it sit overnight. So we're going to start with 1/2 cup of honey. I'm going to put that in a microwave safe bowl. And to that I am going to add 1 cup of dark brown sugar. I'm going to stir it in, and then we're going to microwave it in 30-second bursts until the sugar melts. So I'm not exactly sure how long that will be, but I'm going to start with 30 seconds. We'll bring it out and stir it a little bit and see how it is. See you in a bit. Okay, this is our first 30 seconds in the microwave. Definitely needs more time, so I'm going to put it in again, and I'll be back. I have now microwaved this 3 times for 30 seconds for a total of 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it's thinned quite a bit, and it does say to stir it vigorously, so I'm going to do that. And I think I'm going to put it in for one more 30-second burst. So I'll be back. Okay, it's now been microwaved for exactly 2 minutes in 30-second intervals, and I feel like this is exactly what it should look like. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, cubed, and melt that in with it. Now, it's warm from the microwave, so this will just melt on its own as I stir it. While that finishes melting, I need some orange and some lemon zest, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oops. I'm going to start with my lemon. I need a teaspoon of each. I've seen recipes where they use orange juice or lemon juice or candied orange peel, candied lemon. This one calls for zest. And if you're interested in making this, I would encourage you to look up some different recipes and find one that speaks to you, because there's a lot of different ones out there. A little bit more. So when we're zesting, we just want the very outside of the peel. The rest of it is bitter, so you want to keep turning your fruit so you're just getting the zest and not the bitter part. Ah, dropped it. Okay, I think that's enough lemon. I'm not used to this zester, so I'm kind of messy with it. Now I have an orange. I'm going to do the same thing. Try to keep your knuckles off the zester. This one isn't working quite as easily. I have zested my knuckles in the past, and I don't recommend it. I give it 0 stars. All right, I'm happy with that. I'm not actually going to measure it. I'm just assuming it's about what I need. Not a critical ingredient to have exactly right. Mix that in with our butter, which has now melted. Now I'm going to stir in a half teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of baking powder. And with that, I have a mixture of spices. I will go through them. I prepared these at my house and brought them. So we have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1 teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And boy, does it smell good. Give that a mix. Man, that smells like Christmas. All right, I'm gonna move you back just a bit. Okay, next to that, we're gonna put in our flour. Well, we have an egg. I have an egg that I started beating. It's just 1 large egg. All right. Get that mixed in nice. And then we're going to add flour and almond flour. So I'm going to add 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of almond flour. we'll see how this mixes up. We want it to form into a soft, slightly sticky dough. And the directions say that if it's not thin enough, you can add a little bit of lemon juice to it. So we'll see if we need to do that. I think I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon. I have a first cousin who is an excellent cook. Her name is Lori, and she makes a version of this every year. And it was handed down from her her other grandma, and I'm sure it came from Germany. Okay, this seems a little dry to me, so I am going to add some lemon. I'm going to grab a knife. Just cut my lemon in half, the same one that I just zested. I'm going to squeeze it over this bowl so that I can pick out the seeds. Oh! Splashed all over. Get those seeds out of there. There's one. Maybe. You don't want those. So I don't think there's quite a tablespoon here. Okay, I gotta grab some oil. It says to spray your hands, so that's what I'm gonna do. And then we're gonna gather this into a ball. It's a warm dough because it was microwaved to get all that sugar and honey mixed. So all we're going to do now is we're going to cover this with a towel and we're going to leave it sit all night. And then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll bake them. So for me it'll be overnight, for you it'll be just a second. See you then. Good morning. It's been overnight for me. It's been just a minute for you. We are ready to work with our Lebkuchen dough again. So our dough has been sitting on the counter overnight. I don't know if I said that yesterday or not, but it specifically says to leave it on the counter. So it's been covered with a towel, and I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to make the glaze. It's telling me to make the glaze before I roll this dough out and bake it. So in this container, I have 1 cup of powdered sugar. To that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. This is some lemon that I just squeezed fresh. I'm going to start with a very light tablespoon. I can always add more. And we want it to be a very thin glaze. It's a little thick, and I don't want it to be overpowered with lemon, so I'm going to actually use a little bit of water. It's not going to need a lot. Start with a half a teaspoon. If you want to use all lemon juice, that's perfectly fine. That's exactly what the recipe says. I just want a little milder flavoring for mine. Getting there, a little bit more. I want it to be fairly thin, so more water. Getting there. We're going to actually brush this on with a pastry brush, so it really does need to be quite thin. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to set that aside. Close up my vanilla so I don't spill it, because that's something I would do. Then I'm going to get my dough. I have just a little bit of flour here. I'm going to flour my workspace. Then I'm just going to take part of this dough. Mold it into a bit of a disc, maybe a little bit more. Now we're going to roll these, but we're going to do them really thick. They're going to be almost an inch thick. I'm just gonna, I always start from the center of my dough and work out toward the edges. We want this dough to be just under an inch thick, like 2 centimeters. So I'm not going to go much less than that. I have just a, it's actually a 6-pointed star that I'm going to use. It says to use a heart or a star, so that's what I have. Meanwhile, I'm also preheating my oven to 350 degrees. We'll see if this turns out to be a family favorite or not. I just thought it was a super interesting recipe because it has such a history of being from Nuremberg, Germany. And it was developed because there were spice routes that went right through there, and so they had access to some of these spices and decided to make some things with it. See how this dough gathers. It's a little crumbly. It's very tempting to add a little bit of water, but I'm not going to do that just yet. So the key is to use very little flour, I think, when you're rolling them out. I'm just going to use the same cookie cutter all the way through. If you want to use different ones, that's certainly fine. Sometimes when I'm making a new cookie recipe, I will just bake one cookie to see if I need to adjust anything. I'm not going to do that today. One more for our pan before we put it in the oven. Alright, this is what they look like before we put them in the oven. I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to set my timer. It says to cook them for 12 minutes at 350. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes and then we'll check them. Okay, while my cookies are in the oven, I've rolled out the rest of my dough. I'm just going to go ahead and get that all cut up and put on my other cookie sheet so we're ready to go when the others come out. As I was reading about these cookies, almost everywhere said that these cookies get better with age. So a lot of people make them weeks before they want them. And you just store them in an airtight container and the flavors get better. That's what they say. And I can believe that. It's fun to find old recipes and bring them back. Remember the traditions. The cousin I was talking about yesterday, cousin Lori, she collects old cookbooks, and she's always making something from really old church cookbooks or recipes that newspapers came out with, all kinds of things, and it's super fun to see her, what she comes up with. So for these, I hardly put any flour down, but I am lifting it up frequently to make sure that it's not sticking. And so the amount of cookies you get is going to change depending on what kind of cookie cutters you use, and also how thick you roll your dough. This almost an inch is an uncomfortable thickness for me. I never bake cookies that are that thick, so that'll be interesting to see how these turn out. I need to flour my cookie cutter. Almost done. Got 3.5 minutes on our timer. I'm really enjoying my time up north here with my daughter and son-in-law and the kids. It's not very often that I get to come up here at Christmas time because they're always home at Christmas. And they live about 3.5 hours north of us. But I sure do love all the snow we have. See if I can get one more out. When I have just a little bit of dough left and I want to get one cookie cutter, I just shape it enough so that I can get it into the shape I want for the cookie cutter, and then I waste very little dough. All right, my next tray's ready to go in when the other ones come out, so I'll see you in a bit. My 10-minute timer just went off, so I'm going to pull these cookies and we'll take a look. Boy, I'm almost thinking they're done. I don't want to overcook them. I'm going to put them in for 1 minute and hope that's not a mistake. Okay, it's been 1 minute. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking these are done. They're just slightly brown on the outside. And it doesn't, I'm not pushing real hard, but it's not staying down. So I think these are done. I'm gonna put my other tray in and then we'll come back and glaze. Don't forget to set a timer. Okay. I'll bring you back over here. Now, I'm just going to move these from the cookie tray to the wire rack. And I need something to hold on to the pan. I'm going to leave the parchment paper. Now it says to glaze these while they're warm. Look a little wonky. There we go. We have our nice thin glaze. Give it a stir. This is thinner than I would use for most things. So I'm just going to take a pastry brush and I'm going to brush this glaze onto them. It says that you can let this glaze firm up and then add a second coat. So I think we will do that with some of them at least to try it. After I'm done with this, I have some cutout cookies that we made and I have to frost them. I'm going to make them look like basketballs because my granddaughter's last basketball game is tomorrow. Or it's a tournament or something. So we're going to make some basketball cookies for her team. It says you can put some sanding sugar or some almonds, slivered almonds on top of these, or even some candied lemon or orange peel. So you have some flexibility to be creative. Okay, that's hardening already, so I'm going to put a second coat on this row, I think. Oh, I forgot something. Let me come get it. I brought some white sanding sugar. We'll sprinkle a little bit of that on. My super spill-proof method of scotch taping the lid shut while I traveled. You want to do that sugar immediately so that the glaze doesn't set up on you. So pretty, so Christmassy. Let's break it. It's a little warm yet. Oh yeah, very gingerbready. That looks delicious. Bring you up so I can see you. I'm gonna give it just a little taste test. I'm telling you, this is delicious. It's got a nice chewy texture, which is delicious. The citrus comes lightly through. The spices give it a rich flavor. Really good. This is a keeper. It's going in our recipe file, and we might make it every year. If you make it, I'd love to hear from you, what you think about it. The recipe will be in the description when we get it up. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel, and I'll see you next time on Baking Bakers.